Welcome to the Micro Focus Identity and Access Management video series. I'm Cam Purdy, Product Marketing Manager for Access Management.
And I'm Paul McKeith, Identity and Access Management Specialist.
So Paul, as I learn about federation, I'm coming across terms like WSFed, OAuth, SAML. Is this just all SSO stuff? What can you do?
There's actually even a few more of those, Kent, out there. And primarily, the industry has looked at these as a single sign-on experience for both mobile and for the web. It's really a nice, secure way to do it. But there is some other things that are, kind of in play here. In terms of getting access to these things, especially when it comes to the cloud, how do I do a single sign-on when I don't have an account in that system? Wouldn't you think you'd need to create an account?
You would, some way.
You would, exactly. And in fact, we have another set of products, namely Identity Manager, that can really put a lot of workflow and business process around creating those accounts and removing those accounts from those systems. Depending on the system we're integrating with, that can be complex or it can be fairly simple. But with Access Manager and leveraging some of these other capabilities and specialty items that Access Manager has built in, we can maybe remove the need to do Identity Manager for a lot of those applications.
Oh, wow. That'd be cool.
So in fact, I might be able to give you a little example of one of those. Remember when we did the other single sign-on demo and we went to a bunch of cloud apps, a bunch of internal on-prem apps?
Yep.
Well, one of the ones, and near the end of that demo, I showed you was ServiceNow.
I remember that one.
Yeah, and our infamous demo guy, or our poor victim, I guess, is Kevin Chester, right? So why don't we take a look, and we'll take off right from where that other video ended.
Perfect.
So in that other video, we had Kevin Chester. Now here's the thing, we were just talking about the identities, right? So I'm already logged into my ServiceNow instance as his system administrator. So let's go take a look. And let's see if Kevin Chester has an identity in ServiceNow yet. So we'll take a look. Anybody familiar or anybody that's used ServiceNow would recognize this interface significantly. So let's do a quick search for good old Kevin Chester. And here's Kevin.
Yep.
In fact, from our last demo earlier today, you can even see the dates changed when he was originally created. Okay, so he was already created and now we got a provisioning. So Access Manager is actually the entity that did that creation initially, but it goes far beyond just being able to create that account. So watch this.
Okay.
So let's take a look at Kevin Chester. And for some reason, a rogue administrator or just, some sort of fat finger or something, they went in and they deleted Kevin Chester's phone number. And in fact, take a look at this.
Oh,
Access
wow.
Manager
IDP.
put this information in here because it knew that's where the source, that's how we know that Kevin Chester got created as opposed to someone just manually creating a guy or
Right.
Identity Manager or anything else. So let's go ahead and update Kevin Chester so that information is now gone.
Yep.
Okay. Now let's go back on over here and we're going to log into the single sign-on access portal from Access Manager as Kevin Chester. Okay. And now, and remember we showed the favorites, and remember we actually had a whole bunch of other applications. I think it was our favorite.
ServiceNow is one of your favorites.
So now I'm going to click on ServiceNow and log in as Kevin Chester. But before I do that, let's set this up again. Let's prove that that mobile phone number is actually still gone. And hopefully I can do this quickly enough for you. Now I'm going to log into ServiceNow, quickly come over here. Look at that.
Yep, showed right up.
And in fact, you even see that ServiceNow is even nice enough to say, hey, something new is here on this screen. That happened live.
wow.
I didn't have to refresh. I didn't have to log in as the administrator. That information just came in there. So
we had some form of provisioning going on through federation.
that's correct. And even a little bit more than provisioning, right? I could have deleted Kevin Chester, and we can do that maybe in another video or something like that. But what I did here is it's not just that. It's also about keeping the data correct. So what if I had an Identity Manager system, or I lost my phone here, I put it away. I changed my phone number, what have you, or anything else, my Office 365 VPN changes, in this case I didn't include it, or any other attributes that might be interesting inside of ServiceNow or Workday or anything else, and that changes. Nothing ever changes, right, Kent?
No one ever messes with stuff.
Exactly. Even that would be worse, right? So an identity management system like Access Manager, or even if you're using Active Directory, whatever it is, that information gets changed in that interface, we can see that. And every time at the point of access, when Kevin Chester goes and uses that, we'll update it. And the thing is, it's always updated every time, or potentially every time, so it's always correct.
So that's really cool, Paul. I've heard horror stories that this stuff is really complicated. So what's the scoop on that?
Yeah, you may have heard some stories about, yeah, we did that. It looked great in the demo, and then 6 months later, we were still paying the bill for the consultants that came in and did that.
Right.
Yeah, I've heard those stories as well. So I'm not a consultant. I did this with a free developer account with ServiceNow, and I had never done it. And the effort it took me was reading their documentation.
A lot less than an IDM or a provisioning tool would take.
And when I had done this was years ago. And in fact, in order to doing that, it was before they had application connectors in our app catalog. Yep. And if you see that video, you'll see how easy that was to tie these things together. So yeah, there's a little bit of work involved, but it's not the army of consultants. Now, I'm not going to try to fool you. There are scenarios where business workflow, business processes are put on top of this that you would still want to use Access Manager. In addition to Access Manager, you would use Identity Manager to account for those things.
Right tool for the right job.
That's exactly right. And that tends to be the more complex scenarios. But there are still some other applications that don't want to play well in the federation world. And they require you, yeah, you can go ahead. That's great. So Access Manager can do all that stuff for you. But we don't care what Access Manager can do. And they put some barriers in the way. Luckily, ServiceNow isn't one of those. So that's why we're able to do this quite easily. But others, they say, well, we're not going to let you, mess with our data unless you call an API or do X, Y, Z, whatever. Jump through tons of hoops and hire all those consultants, right? So in those particular cases, then we still have the simplified account management capabilities, but I'm going to tell you, stay tuned. We're going to be able to kind of bridge them, get that gap between Identity Manager doing this for you and Access Manager doing this for you. Very soon, hopefully, very soon, we're going to be able to take care of that for you as well. So you can have less of those consultants on board to do all that work for you.
So with that teaser, we're going to end this video. Please take a moment and check out other videos about Access Manager. Thank you so much.